In the world of World War I, there are stories that were never told. Stories about the true price a soldier paid. The price wasn't a bullet to the chest. It was madness, the absolute fear of dying underground, buried in silence. Welcome to Vimy Ridge. On April 9, 1917, 100,000 Canadian soldiers launched an assault against 40,000 Germans on this cursed hill. The losses were brutal. 10,602 Canadian casualties, 3,598 dead in just 4 days. These numbers are the visible victims. But the real story unfolded in the shadows. What you're about to see is not just history. It's an investigation into a war of shadows, a war that forced soldiers to live and die just meters away from the enemy, surrounded by the terror of collapse. Are you ready to descend 100 feet below the surface? Vimy wasn't just a hill, it was a fortress of the Germans, a stone citadel that couldn't be penetrated. The Germans had turned these ridges into an architectural nightmare, a triple trench system with bunkers so deep that British shelling felt like a joke to them. The French and British had already paid the price. 150,000 soldiers had fallen in failed attempts before. Sending men here was an act of betrayal. It was a challenge to every military tactic ever known. How do you attack an enemy you can't even touch? The answer lay below, or more accurately, in hell. The Canadians didn't arrive as traditional soldiers, but as miners. They came to dig mass graves beneath the earth. Their mission wasn't to fight, it was to build a hidden city of death. At the heart of the ridge, a vast network of tunnels began to take shape, 12 kilometers long, a secret underground city. With rail tracks for supplies, electricity, and shelters large enough to hold thousands of men. But this wasn't life. It was isolation, moisture, darkness, the fear of carbon dioxide, and worst of all, silence. Soldiers would press their ears against the walls, listening to the faint sound of German digging. They were just 1 meter away from death, but no one knew who would reach the other first. This was the war of mines. Every strike of a pickaxe from the other side sounded like a countdown to death. When the enemy's position was discovered, the fight turned into butchery in the dark, with knives, or by blowing up the entire tunnel to bury everyone inside. They planted bombs deep within the Earth's veins, massive mines filled with tons of explosives. These weren't ordinary bombs, they were geological weapons of annihilation, waiting for the 0 hour to turn the ridge into a volcano. They planted bombs deep within the bowels of the earth, massive mines loaded with tons of explosives. These weren't ordinary bombs, they were geological acts of destruction, bombs waiting for the 0 hour to turn the ridge into a volcano. What I truly admired about those commanders and soldiers is how they executed every single detail with precision. At 5:30 a.m., darkness turned into fire. The artillery began to scream. But the real shock came from below. At the very moment the assault began, the mines detonated in perfectly chosen positions. German soldiers were buried alive before they could even hear a sound. The fighting above ground was easier than anyone had imagined. The Germans were stunned, disoriented, and their communication lines were severed. But in the bunkers, it was a slaughter fought with pistols and bayonets. This trench war, above all others, was a battle I like to call. In just 4 days, a victory unlike any before was achieved. The Canadian Corps seized the ridge. Their greatest weapon was secrecy. Nearly 4,000 German soldiers were captured, stunned, unable to comprehend how the enemy had broken through their fortifications. The Canadians paid a heavy price, 10,602 casualties, but they emerged from the shadows. Canada was no longer just a colony. It became a nation born from the fires of hell. This victory forged a reputation of the Canadian Army as an unstoppable force. In the end, Vimy Ridge wasn't a battle for a hill. It was a struggle between man and absolute fear, between light and darkness. And when you stand today upon those ridges, remember, the souls that fell there didn't fall to the ground. They fell into the darkness. Their stories still wait to be told. This is the haunting legacy of one of the greatest secrets of World War I. If this story moved you, don't forget to support the channel so we can uncover more hidden truths of history. Hit follow now